Moving on to our last speaker before our final share space. Ramya Gopalan is the innovation specialist from the UNDP. And her background basically goes like this. After hearing inspirational talks about innovation in the United Nations Development Plan, particularly in Europe and Central Asia, Ramya thought to open a space for innovation in the Asia-Pacific region and sow the seeds of an innovation fund. The idea was to provide UNDP colleagues with the creative space and seed funding to go beyond traditional linear planning and allow for experimentation. So without much further ado, Ramya, thank you very much, and I hope your leg isn't too much of an injury.
Thank you. Can I have the clicker? Hello, everyone. Okay, so while I wait for the clicker, our journey on innovation really begins with this region. And I want to draw on this region because for me personally, Asia-Pacific is a fascinating region. And here's the reason why. In the last 2 decades, we've seen enormous economic and social progress within the region. We've also seen comparable GDP growth rates amongst developing economies here that have surpassed other regions. But it's not all a pretty story, right? We also have 2/3 of the world's poor in this region. And clearly the next tranche of gains that we expect to gain here are being threatened by what we call persistent development challenges. Traditional drivers of economic and social progress have evolved over time. And this is where innovation really plays a role in its many dimensions, especially with the advent of new technologies and the appetite for reform that we're seeing in a lot of these countries. There is a role that innovation can play to address these persistent development challenges, given the fact that we're in such a dynamic and challenging context, and this especially requires foresight, agile solutions, and innovative thinking. Our framework for innovation hasn't necessarily been about large-scale investments. We've really started with minimal seed resources. And the emphasis has really been on rethinking the way we approach challenges, looking at the horizon, looking at how we might partner with different solutions and partners already there, and really co-designing and co-developing small-level prototypes that we can rapidly test, fail fast, fail cheap, and eventually achieve impact at scale. Just to give you an idea of what we've been working on. Anyone tell me which country this is? Any guesses? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, China. A huge problem in China, electronic waste. We're looking at 70% of the global electronic waste in China. Just in 2011 alone, and I might not get all the figures here right, but we're looking at consumption patterns of more than 56 million TVs, more than 60 million refrigerators, 250 million phones, and that's just in 1 year. And that 1 year also led to about 4 million tons of electronic waste that needed to be disposed and managed. So this is the kind of challenges that we're grappling with. What do we do that can go beyond business as usual? What do we do that can really challenge traditional solutions? So we brought together user groups. We spoke to citizens. What incentivizes them to dispose their waste? What is the lack of knowledge that what is the kind of knowledge that they would need to, be able to do this? We spoke to retailers, both formal and informal sectors, to understand what is it that prevents them from, safe disposal mechanisms. And we finally partnered with Baidu, China's tech giant, to really develop a mobile application that connects the users with with retailers that practice safe disposal mechanisms. So that we are able to alleviate the problem that they're facing. We initially started with prototyping this app in just Beijing and Tianjin, and we've now scaled it up to other cities. Just in the first 6 weeks, we had more than 100,000 downloads for the application, and we have so far disposed about 12,000 units safely. We've now launched a second version of this application because we've gone back to the users, we've looked at feedback that they've given. We've now separated the interface for the user and retailer, and we've also got the government to develop specific training practices, especially for the informal sector, on how they can achieve safe disposal mechanisms. Moving from China, the next country that we're looking at is the Maldives. Anyone who thinks of the Maldives thinks of a paradise island, a beautiful holiday destination, but that's not all it's about. It's about 1,000 islands, and citizens often struggle with being able to connect with their island councils. So what we did was we borrowed from Fix My Street in the UK. I'm sure many of you are aware of them. They're really a way for citizens to report to councils, local councils, on issues that they're facing with respect to municipal service delivery. So we borrowed from this idea. We reached out to the Fix My Street team, who were our pro bono partner, and we developed a similar application for the Maldives. This is called Make My Island. And the idea here was citizens are able to connect with their own island councils in many islands within the atoll to report various issues that they might be facing, whether it's soil erosion, floods, and so on. And the island council has the responsibility to, of course, report on this, take action on this. And both the reports are available online so that there's a sense of accountability that you're ensuring with governance, but you're also engaging citizens in the kind of reporting that they can do and being able to engage with local governments. Following the success of this, we're now scaled up to the capital city of Male. And the government has been fully on board in terms of how this is going to be developed. And we've also looked at how we might expand it to other issues such as antisocial behavior, etc. Oh, sorry. A few other examples very quickly. From Papua New Guinea, for anybody who knows, has struggles with corruption, high levels of corruption. So we developed a very simple SMS system, again, for citizen monitoring of corruption activities. We've had more than 1,000 cases registered within the Department of Finance. We've uncovered about 250 cases of these. 4 cases are in trial, and 2 of officials have already been arrested for mismanagement of over $2 million. In Bhutan, where youth unemployment is a huge issue, and we were really challenged with engaging with youth in a consistent manner, we partnered with a gaming lab to develop a game so that we can engage with youth through the game, understand what are the issues that they're facing with youth unemployment. And also, we've used their ideas in the game to run a social entrepreneur program where the government is sponsoring the top 3 ideas that emerge from the game. In Vietnam, for instance, we looked beyond the traditional community legal aid clinics, which are not always sustainable, and we partnered with universities where clearly law students needed a real exposure of their curriculum and how they might practice it, and communities needed that hands-on support. So we got universities, students to go to the communities, work with them, so that we're able to provide that legal aid, but we're also able to give law students the exposure that they need in working with communities. And finally, in Nepal, okay, there are many more examples, but in Nepal, this is a really interesting one because we wanted to work with youth as change agents to challenge gender stereotypes, because we believe that youth play an important role in being able to change the perspectives within their family, within their communities. So we developed a set of animation videos that really flip the gender roles that you traditionally see. So you have videos where, you know, the man has to cook for the family even when he's unwell, or the man is being teased on a bus by a woman. So we flipped the roles to see what the reactions would be. And it was really interesting because we had such amazing interactions with the kids in schools, because clearly this was something that was surreal to them because they have been so immersed in the stereotypes. And it helped break that barrier and make them understand what it is when we mean, when we're talking about gender stereotypes, and how can they bring changes within their families and their communities. Coming to the Philippines itself, there are 2 examples here. One is the Peso Sense, which really looks at leveraging entrepreneurial capacity between Philippines abroad and Filipinos here, and looks at how you might market products online, but also how you might do smart payments, how you might monitor your smart remittances, and so on. This has been developed in partnership with the Commission of Filipinos Overseas, as well as Western Union. A second example is, of course, looking at how we might study the kind of climate and disaster risks that people are exposed to. And it's a really simple application in terms of a mobile application that connects to a database that helps us receive this information, which is geotagged, but also helps us in informing policy to improve on climate and disaster risk management. So this is just a quick snapshot of the different innovation concepts and processes that we have explored in a very short time. And we're continuing to build on it. We've had a number of different partners that we worked with. If you look at it, is there innovation agencies, gaming labs, universities, technology partners, and so on. And there's many more. This is just a sample. And it doesn't stop there. So one of the things we often look at is, okay, we might be good at specializing on an innovation in a particular context. But how do we encourage that transfer between countries? And traditionally, I mean, so far, knowledge transfer between countries has been very traditional, right? You'll have a study tour of government officials from one country to another to gain exposure on a particular product, and then what happens? So we decided to borrow from the Samsung iPhone model. We took the concept of reverse engineering and design thinking and applied it to the government officials, to the particular projects they wanted to study, and got them to get involved in the prototype, do the user research, and understand what user-centered thinking is to be able to transfer this knowledge. And this was one example between China and Bangladesh. I've been given a time warning, so I'm really racing through, I'm sorry. So this is just a quick overview of the trends we're looking at, just focused on innovation, which only goes to underline the importance that innovation can play in achieving that major change that we want to see, particularly when we're talking about wicked problems that continue to persist despite developments. We're also looking at a large number of governments establishing their own national level innovation strategies, councils, funds. And we're also looking at a number of social innovation labs that have come up in the region of late. In this region alone, there are 50 social innovation labs. Which is a great opportunity to leverage further partnerships and so on. So building on all of this, where are we now? We've had a very humble innovation journey, if I can say so. We're continuing to explore. We've got some immense partnerships going, and we're trying to do more with it. But that's just not all. We're also recognizing the fact that it's really the investment on innovation capacity that has sort of differentiated between governments who have really pioneered and led the way versus governments who are aspiring to get there. So we're now working with national and local level governments to look at how we might improve this innovation capacity, how we might build the necessary frameworks and space that is needed so that we can co-design and co-develop the next generation of services to address really the emerging problems that we're faced with. And I'll really stop here by saying that our innovation work has really been about, the process, not just about the final technology or the product. It's being about engaging with the users, reiterating on the design, having those quick feedback loops, and really working in a manner that can help improve that exchange between innovation leaders and the aspiring countries in the region. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take them. I don't have a booth in the back, but I have my wheelchair, so you can come and find me. Thank you.